The blaze was an inferno, a roaring monster devouring everything in its path. For a firefighter like me, it's a familiar enemy. But that day, amidst the chaos of crackling timber and falling ash, I heard something I'd never heard before. It wasn't the cry of a bird or a deer. It was something else, something almost human, yet utterly wild. It was a sound of pure terror, a child's scream lost in the heart of the fire. I pushed deeper, ignoring the scorching heat licking at my gear. The smoke was a thick, blinding shroud. I followed the cries, my heart pounding against my ribs. Was I imagining things? Was the heat getting to me? Then, through the haze, I saw it. Huddled at the base of a charred ancient redwood was a small, trembling figure. It wasn't a human child. It was covered in matted, dark fur, with eyes huge, black, and filled with a terror so profound it struck me to my core. My first thought was, it's a bear cub. But no, the face was too expressive, the limbs too long and gangly. It looked up at me, its tiny body shaking uncontrollably. It let out another one of those heart-wrenching wails. In that moment, I wasn't a firefighter facing a strange creature. I was just a man looking at a scared, lost baby. All the stories, all the myths I'd heard growing up in these woods, could they be real? Carefully, I reached out my gloved hand. It flinched, trying to press itself further into the blackened tree trunk. "Hey there, little fella," I whispered, my voice rough from the smoke. "It's okay. I'm here to help." I moved slowly, making sure not to spook it. It was so small, so fragile against the backdrop of this raging destruction. I scooped it up into my arms. It was surprisingly light, and it clung to my turnout coat like its life depended on it, burying its face in my chest. As I carried it out of the fire line, my mind was racing. What was this creature? It felt like I was holding a secret, a piece of the ancient forest that the world had forgotten. Its fur was singed, and it coughed its little body racked with spasms from the smoke. Back at the temporary command post, away from the immediate danger, my colleagues stared, speechless. They saw what I saw. This wasn't any known animal. We gave it water, which it lapped up greedily and wrapped it in a fire blanket. Its big, soulful eyes never left my face. They held an intelligence, a knowingness that was uncanny. It wasn't just an animal. There was a person in there, a thinking, feeling, being. I knew then and there I couldn't just hand it over to a wildlife center or, worse, some government lab. They wouldn't understand. They would see a specimen, a scientific curiosity. But I saw a child separated from its family by this catastrophe. Over the next few days, as the fire was brought under control, I kept the little one with me. I nicknamed him Ash, for obvious reasons. He was skittish, but seemed to trust me. He'd make soft, chirping sounds when I was near, and grew anxious if I left his sight. He ate the berries and soft roots I gathered, turning his nose up at anything else. He was a child of the forest, through and through. The feeling grew stronger with each passing hour. I had to get him home. His family had to be out there somewhere, searching for him, grieving for him. How do you find a family that no one believes exists? I started by going back to the place I found him. The forest was a wasteland of charcoal and grey dust, a ghost of its former self. But life is resilient. I looked for tracks, for any sign that wasn't made by deer or bears. Days turned into a week. I spent every off-duty hour combing the less damaged parts of the forest, with Ash tucked safely in a modified carrier on my chest. I felt like a madman chasing a myth. People in town were starting to talk. The hero firefighter was acting strangely, disappearing into the woods for hours on end. I didn't care. I looked into Ash's eyes and knew I was doing the right thing. He was my responsibility. One evening, at the edge of a deep, misty canyon the fire hadn't touched, Ash suddenly became agitated. He started making a new sound, a low, resonant call that vibrated through my chest. He was calling for someone. I stood perfectly still, my own breath caught in my throat, and listened. For a long time, there was only the wind. I was about to give up, my heart sinking with disappointment. Then, from the depths of the canyon, an answer came. It was a call that echoed Ash's but was deeper, more powerful a sound that was both a roar and a song. It rolled through the trees and settled deep in my bones. Ash went wild, wriggling and calling out again and again. Tears welled in my eyes. They were out there. They were real. Slowly, carefully, I made my way down the steep incline. The forest here was dense, ancient, and untouched. It felt like stepping back in time. As I neared the canyon floor, I saw them, two towering figures standing in the shadows of the giant sequoias. They were massive, at least 8 or 9 feet tall, covered in the same dark fur as Ash. They stood like silent, watchful sentinels. My heart hammered against my ribs, but it wasn't fear I felt. It was awe. I stopped about 50 yards away and gently set Ash down on the mossy ground. He immediately scrambled forward, calling out. The larger of the two figures, the mother, I assumed knelt down and opened her arms. Ash ran straight into her embrace. The reunion was silent, but filled with an emotion so powerful it was tangible. The way she held him, stroking his fur, checking him over, it was the universal language of a parent's love and relief. The larger male figure watched me, his expression unreadable but not threatening. He gave a low rumble, and the mother looked over at me. Her eyes, so much like Ash's, were filled with, what was it? Gratitude. It was unmistakable. She gave a slight nod, a gesture of thanks that transcended the barrier between our species. I nodded back, a lump forming in my throat. I had done it. I had returned the lost child. I watched as the family of 3 turned and melted back into the shadows of the ancient forest, disappearing as if they were never there. I stood alone in the canyon for a long time, the silence now feeling profound and sacred. I had pulled a myth from the ashes, and in doing so, I had confirmed a secret as old as the mountains themselves. I never told anyone the full story. Who would believe me? They'd call me crazy. But I know what I saw. Every time I look at those mountains, I know they're watching. They're still out there. I didn't just save a creature from a fire. I connected with a part of our world that is wild, mysterious, and beautiful. And that's a secret I will carry with me forever. Thank you so much for watching this story. If you were moved by Ash's journey, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more incredible tales from the wild. We'll see you in the next video.